Hey, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of the Impact My Life podcast. I am Matt Masur from Growth Mode Content, and I have the privilege to kick off this very first episode before we turn it on full-time to our man, Jason. But let's jump right in and introduce really the star of the show, Jason Nolan. How are you, man?
I'm doing great.
Tell us.
Appreciate you helping me out with this first episode.
Yeah, I'm excited to do so. And, this is really fun for me because I get to learn about so many different things that I don't know about. And the beauty is it's your entire world. So there's so many different things that I think we're going to be able to learn and tell people about on this show that, I don't know, it's going to be a blast. I'm really excited about it. So let's jump right in. And what I thought we might do to be kind of interesting is we'll sort of Tarantino it. We'll start with what you're doing today, and then we'll sort of work backwards rather than starting when you were a boy and getting your life story that way, the traditional way. So tell us about today. What are you doing? What's your business? Where is it? Let's jump right in with that stuff.
Sure. I own Impact Martial Arts Team DeWitt. We've been open since 2004, and we've been in DeWitt and East Syracuse that entire time. 2004 is easy to remember as a start date because it was the same year that my twins were born.
Oh, wow.
So the twins were born in May, and our school opened in June, so it's always pretty simple to remember.
Wow.
So we teach martial arts instruction to kids, adults. So we have students ranging from 3.5 to nearly 70 years old,
Really?
Which is one of the cool things I like about the practice of the martial arts is it's not something that you age out of, like a gymnastics or your body doesn't allow you to do anymore, like a softball, or running. You can do it pretty much your entire life.
Wow. That's pretty neat. I didn't realize that the range was so wide.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me, when folks come to you, you think of it, and of course we've got the famous movies, and the Karate Kid has come back as a great TV show, and everybody's got that kind of mindset. But what is it? Do people come to you? Is it a fitness thing? Is it a self-defense thing? Is it primarily what is really the focus of why people come to your business?
One of the things I really enjoy about my business is that everybody's there for a different reason, and they all get what they want out of it. So in a 40-minute class, I might have a child that needs to work on self-discipline. I might have a child that needs to work on fitness. I might have another child that needs to work on focus because they have a little bit of ADHD. And they're all doing the same routine in class. They're doing the same exercises, and they all get what they need out of the class. And I'm doing the same thing for everybody. And the same goes for the adults. Some adults come in because they want to get in better shape. Some are interested in learning a new skill. Some are, have a desire to learn self-defense because they want to be able to protect themselves. And others just want camaraderie. They want to belong to a group, because when you become an adult, a lot of people stop learning. And they also sometimes have trouble finding a social group.
Sure.
And so we have a number of adults that begin just to find a social group and or to learn a new skill.
Wow.
So it's interesting to me, when people come in, we try to understand what some of their goals are, but they're all doing the same class and they all seem to get what they want out of it. And that's the beauty of what I do. And, I appreciate it every day.
That's got to be pretty neat from a business standpoint. You deliver one solid thing, and people get that variety of things out of it. Yeah. That's pretty awesome. Talk to me a little bit about sort of how it works. So I think you mentioned a little bit, the younger people and the adults are those, I'm guessing, are two separate groups. You don't have kids and adults necessarily in a class?
Yeah, we split our groups up. We have the really young guys. They're called the Little Dragons. They could be anywhere from 3.5 to usually about 6 years old.
Wow.
Sometimes we'll have some kids that graduate out of it a little younger. Sometimes they're a little bit older. If they're a little bit behind in terms of focus and ability to memorize things. And then the next group would be like the 6 or 7 year olds to like 12, 13-ish, somewhere in there. And then from then on, they're in our teen and adult class. And then an add-on program that we added about 5 years ago that's been one of my favorite things is a leadership program where we actually teach public speaking skills to kids. And that one's been a huge success for us because you'll have kids that have never done the school play because they were too nervous. Now they do the school play. We have kids that, present in front of their class or present in front of their school, and their parents are like, this is totally due to the leadership program. So if you take, what are people's biggest fears besides dying? it's public speaking. So
Yeah.
we're making kids comfortable with that at a young age. So it was something that we added on about 5 years ago, and it's ended up being a huge success and one of my favorite things that we do. The only problem is we don't promote it well enough.
Yeah.
but it is a fun one for us.
Well, maybe we can help you with that a little
Yeah.
bit. So that's pretty neat. Let's talk a little bit more about that, because I think that's super interesting. Is it a program? Is it sort of I guess for lack of it, like sort of a finite program? So, it's 6 weeks and it starts every, first of the month sort of thing, or how does the program work?
Our leadership program is a standalone program. So once students are in it, in our regular martial arts program, they can opt to be in part of the leadership program. Half of it is public speaking and leadership skills. The other half of it is advanced training, weapons training, performance type skills.
Wow.
So the parents want them in there for the public speaking end of it. The kids want to get in there to learn sweet tricks with commas and bow staffs and swords. But it's a standalone program.
That's brilliant, though.
Yeah.
To hold their attention, that's great.
Yeah, and to make it through the entire program, it takes about 2 years.
Oh, wow.
They kind of level up within it. So at first, they're doing simple commands, moving to running a group, to eventually helping out and teaching in the school if they want to.
Wow.
But to beginning to end, it takes about 2 years for them to for what I would say to go from just rote saying what we ask them to say to being able to speak in front of a group and lead and be confident.
So is it something that, and obviously you said, it's folks that are already in your regular martial arts programs. Is this something that folks, if they want to do this leadership program, is it a whole nother class, or is it kind of an individual thing? So if my kid, decides they're interested in it, do they sign up and you just start them, or do they wait for a group to start together?
Every month we do a 2-hour seminar where we bring in an outside instructor that does kind of specialty knowledge. And so the first hour is more leadership training, more in-depth things. We do team building exercises. And then the second half, the outside instructor comes in, just because I like them to get used to having other instructors besides just me. And he's a great guy. And so he'll come in and do specialty skills with them. And so that's when we start new people in the leadership program, is so they get a 2-hour immersion in it, and they can decide whether it's something that's a good fit for them.
That's pretty neat. But sounds like you can sort of pick it up almost at any point.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Is there a season, I guess you would say, to the other things you do? So, does martial arts, does it start in September and end in May, or, anything like that?
No, we're a year-round program.
Gotcha.
So some kids do other sports, and so if they do other sports, they might go a little bit lighter on their attendance during soccer season, and then they pick it up afterwards, or during the summer. A lot of parents, they may have summer camps, planned, so they may take their attendance down a little bit during those times and then pick it right back up. But like I said, it is a year-round sport, and the goal for them is to go from white belt to black belt, and that takes usually between 3 and 4 years.
Wow. Is it how often do you come in for something like that? Is it a once a week? Or?
The little guys, the little dragons, they can be usually one to two times a week.
Okay.
The older kids are usually 2 to 3 times a week. Same with the adults. But we do have some busy professionals that they can only make class 1 day a week, and we accommodate that as well. But the main program with the kids that are 8 to 12, 7 to 12 in that range, we like to see them twice a week at least.
So it sounds like, in everything we're talking about, I keep hearing you say, you talk about people's individual goals and in accommodating them and providing these things. It sounds like that's a real focus of your business in general, is really driving what these folks want when they come in. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, definitely. Our goal is obviously, we want to see them successful in our program, but more than that, we want to see them successful in their life. And, so every month we have a certain focus. So, pun not intended, our focus of the month, our life skill of the month this month is focus. So we've been talking about, how to improve their focus skills. This week we've been talking about sensory acuity. In a certain situation, one-on-one, I should have tunnel vision giving you all of my attention. But then then in other situations, you need to have more of an awareness of what's going on around you. So those little life skills we add in. Last month we did belief, developing a yes, I can attitude. And then next month is all areas of self-discipline. So every month we have a different area of focus, and every week within that month, a different area of that particular life skill.
Okay. That's incredible. It's just there's so many neat pieces to this.
Yeah. And I'm still learning too myself. For me, when I first came up through, the life skill was a little mat chat that you did on the mat with the kids that took about 30 seconds or a minute.
Yeah.
And from then we've moved into expanding it to where there's a weekly focus and there's a worksheet that the kids complete to get a special stripe on their belt to be able to graduate. Now the next step for me is I'm working on integrating them into my classes more. So we're talking about it more, so they're kind of having to live them within the class.
Wow.
So it's a growing process for even me after all these years.
And I think that's great. I think that's something that's incredibly important in any industry, right? Is to continue to grow and
improve
and learn. Let's dig into that a little bit more. Let's talk about you a little bit. What drives you to do something like this, as a business?
To be honest with you, when I got out of college, I felt the need to use my degree. My degree was in labor relations and human resource management. So I moved to Chicago and I worked for Motorola. In Motorola, there's a lot of opportunity for human resource professionals. There's a lot of big companies out there.
Sure.
My wife and I were going to have kids, so we came back to Syracuse. And Syracuse, doesn't have a lot of big industries unless you're at like a hospital or Syracuse University. So I was working for Royal Philips Electronics and doing like strategic HR projects for them. And then we got divested. It was a wonderful time until they divested us.
Wow.
And a good friend of mine whose daughter actually became our very first black belt at my school.
Wow.
We had to fire 700 people. And I got done with that, and the ultimate one for me was we had an older lady. I was in my late 20s at the time. She had been working on the manufacturing line for 35 years.
Wow.
And she was so excited that I was laying her off because she got a lump sum severance that she could buy dentures. Mind you, she would get reimbursed for the dentures, but she could never get the $500 put together to purchase the dentures.
Put it up front.
And after that one, I went home to my wife and I said, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I want something that has a little bit more, not to make a pun again, positive impact in the world. Who would I rather see at Wegmans?
Impact my life.
Yes. Who would I rather see at Wegmans? My students or somebody that one of the 700 people I had to fire. So what at a certain point you have to decide, what do you want your legacy to be? And so the next week, after I laid myself off with dignity, my original instructor was looking to expand, and I said, let's do it. And, 20 years later, here I am. And It's been a much better ride for me, much more enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can imagine. That's got to be incredibly fulfilling, just, having all these people come through, and especially with this leadership program. I think that's really neat.
Out of the past 4 years, 3 out of the past 4 years, at one of the local high schools, the valedictorian's been one of our black belts.
Really?
So it's kind of a loose statistic, but, I always kind of scan them. And, like I said, 3 out of the past 4 years, one of the valedictorians has been one of our black belts. So that's the type of legacy that we're proud of.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. That's what a great stat.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly. Tell me a little bit more about some of these people that come in. Obviously, it sounds like that they are interested in self-improvement a little bit, which is not necessarily everybody, right?
And not always. Sometimes they literally come in because they've watched, Krav Maga or Muay Thai on YouTube, and then they come in and they see that it's a lot more kicking and punching. I think that's one of the goals of the Impact My Life podcast, besides helping people that aren't martial artists, kind of navigate everyday life and, have a little bit of self-defense for life's challenges. I think also it's to kind of, educate people that there is a lot more to what we do than punching and kicking. It is a great workout, but, it kind of helps your whole self as well.
You need that anywhere you can get it these days. There's so many opportunities to be down, having something that's not only gives you that athletic, just working out is good for you.
Yeah.
But to combine that.
And have connection. I mean, we've never been more connected in our lives,
Sure.
but we're not. Most people are more lonely and isolated than they've ever been. So, to have a place like that where it's always positive and everybody's happy to see you, kind of like Cheers. They all call your name out when you come in. It's kind of a special place that we created, and we're proud of it.
That's really incredible. Let's talk a little bit about you on a personal level. You mentioned at the beginning there you got some twins that are about the same age as the business.
Yep.
Any other kid? How many kids do you have altogether?
3.
Okay.
So they'll all have birthdays in May. The twins are 20, and my youngest is 16.
Wow.
And jockeying for her license and a car and everything that goes along with it.
Yeah, that's always an adventure.
Yeah.
Are they into martial arts as well?
Yeah, my twins and all 3 of them and my wife have all gotten multiple degrees of black belt.
Wow.
So my kids all the way up through were physically fit, able to defend themselves, but also great people as well. One of the things I'm most proud of is you'd hear from their teachers constantly, even into high school, which is a tough time with peer pressure, that my kids were always nice to whoever was new, foreign exchange students, new kids, special needs children. They always were kind to everybody. And that's probably the thing that I was most proud of with them, is that they're nice people.
Right.
They can physically handle themselves and they're confident and strong personalities, but they're great people.
I can see that, and that's the ultimate point of pride, I feel like, for a parent. There's so many things. It's great. My kid, did some great achievement, but like, is he a jerk?
Yeah.
And it's, just to have good.
It's nice that my youngest
people
can defend herself against a bully, but it's also, we'll go to the movies with, the person that doesn't have any friends.
They'll also call him help after she breaks his nose, right? That's so neat. Let's talk a little bit about, as I mentioned earlier, we're seeing so many different shows and things like this where karate is sort of having its moment again, I would say.
Yeah.
Do you see any impact on that in your business? Do you see people that
maybe a little bit,
maybe
a little bit. I don't think so much from like the TV shows like a Cobra Kai. I don't think it's been much from that. I think in the old days, the movies did a lot, the Karate Kid movies, maybe the Ninja Turtle movies. I think more so now it's just social media.
Yeah.
People see UFC, they see Muay Thai, they see, honestly, self-defense situations, and that kind of piques their interest where, maybe that is something that I'd like to study and be able to implement into my life.
So you've mentioned a couple of these different styles a few times now. What or which do you teach, or all of them?
We do a blend.
Okay.
When I was growing up, we did strictly Kempo, which is a lot of beautiful flowing upper body, martial arts. And then we realized that, we didn't know how to kick. So then they added in Taekwondo. And then they realized that, we wanted to be able to spar better and train people for, full contact fights. And so they brought in Muay Thai. But then what do you do about hand-to-hand self-defense when somebody's choking you or somebody has a weapon? So that's when we brought in, some elements of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Krav Maga, which is an Israeli style that, they teach in their military because they have a compulsory military service there where everybody serves. So they needed something that was effective but also quick to teach.
I see.
And so that's where Krav Maga came from, which is actually like a trademark name for the style, but it's all Israeli martial arts. So we're pretty much a blend, which you'll notice a lot of schools are moving towards. They kind of pick and choose good parts of a lot of them and make it their own.
Are there competitions? Do you compete against other places and things like that?
Honestly, not really.
Yeah.
In the old days, there was a lot of that. These days, people are very busy, and it's not really the focus of my school. I don't want to be a competitive school. I want to be a place where, people are improving themselves.
Gotcha.
And having longevity, because when you get into like the competitive side of it, your practice becomes a little bit shorter because the risk of injury is so heavy.
Oh, wow.
So I'd much rather have somebody be able to defend themselves than win a competition. Now, if somebody's interested, we do have that option of training people for full contact fights, but it's just not the focus of my school. Mine's, personal growth, self-defense, and, more of a family school.
Okay. Wow. That's really interesting. Are there other, I guess I would say, bigger organizations that you're part of? Are there, in your industry, are there associations or anything like that you know?
because of the type of martial arts that we teach, we aren't bound by a national organization. Like if you run a Taekwondo school, you have to be part of a higher level Taekwondo. Because we're a blend, we don't have any of those requirements. That being said, I do network with a lot of different other martial artists, and our Krav Maga instructors in California, my jiu-jitsu instructors in New York City. So we have a network all over. It's just not something where it's a formal national organization.
Yeah, no, I was just interested in how all that comes together. There's one of the things that you learn when you see all these different businesses and different niches is that they're all their own community. And I just find that part very interesting of how you're learning, and clearly you're connected with different communities as you're getting into all these different styles of things.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of neat. You've almost found a niche in not necessarily being a niche. If that I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah,
that's pretty neat. Talk to folks. Let's take a step back a little bit and let's talk to people that are thinking about this, or they're interested, or they even just live on the other side of the country, and can't necessarily make it to your place. What are some basic tips or pieces of advice that you could give somebody, whether something that they could figure out themselves or a resource they could look up themselves to kind of dip their toe into this water here?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, even if they live in this area, I wouldn't say just come to me. I mean, I would say Pepsi Challenge a few different places, because everybody's style is a little bit different.
Okay.
And how I teach may work really well for you, or it may not be great for you. So, you want this to become a home for you for a long time. So if somebody comes in, I want them to have a positive experience with the martial arts. But if we're not the right school for them, then, go find the place that is the right school for you. That being said, if you are, interested in starting the martial arts, I would go observe a class, try out a class, check out what their reviews online look like, investigate their social media. But the best thing to do is just boots on the ground, go into the school, meet them, watch and try out a school, and do it in a few different places and see what's a good fit for you.
And that sounds like,
because there's a lot of people out there. I don't need to have every person that's interested, because I may not be the right fit for everybody. I hope I am, but if I'm not, find the right place. The important thing is that people participate in the martial arts and get the practice in. But you want to find a place that's safe, clean, and very friendly.
Okay. Is it fair to say that even for folks that might not be in the local area, in any city where they have these, are most places kind of have that same sort of attitude? Come check us out, learn a little bit.
I can't control the whole industry.
Yeah, I'm just.
So there are going to be places that are going to, pressure you to sign up very quickly.
Gotcha.
There's going to be some places that have a completely different focus. Like I said, I focus on longevity. I want people. I have students that have been there for the full 20 years. That I've been open. It's incredible, but they're, we're more, rather than student teacher, now we're friends, because they've been around so long.
Yeah.
That's what I'm interested in for people. So pressure, if you want a competitive school, great, but if you don't, then you have to figure out what the culture is in each of those schools. So that would be my recommendation, is kind of figure out what some of your goals are and find one that matches up to it and check out a few different places.
I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
I think that really is, especially something like this that,
it's very personal. You're going to have a mentoring relationship, a bond with this instructor, and you want it to be somebody that you like, trust, and respect, that you can see yourself staying with for the long haul.
And it sounds like that instructor is the person that you would be with for a long time. So it's not it's not like a fitness class where, you never know who the instructor is going to be that day when you show up.
It depends on the school. Some places do. A lot of the schools have kind of rotating instructors where students run class sometimes, and you may not always see the instructor out there. So for me personally, I like to know who's going to run my classes. So in my school, you're going to get 1 or 2 people. We're going to be running your classes. Now, we may have some assistant instructors that might run certain sections of the class, but, I have one main guy, one other, and he and I run the majority of the pretty much all of the classes. So, which I like for people, because it's something that they can count on and be comfortable with.
No, I think that's a great.
So that would be. I'm glad you brought that up, because that is another watch out. Is it teenagers running every single class, or is it rotating, group of students running the classes, or is the instructor there, not all the time. I mean, people can't be robots, but the majority
Sure.
of the time.
Yeah, no, I think that's.
I will say I do go on vacation a couple times.
Yeah,
a
I
year,
mean,
so.
you're allowed to do that once in a while. How many folks are in a class typically?
Depends on the day. That's the one nice thing. One of the nice things about what we do is I remember when my daughters did gymnastics, their class was Wednesday at 4:00. If you didn't make it Wednesday at 4:00, you didn't get class that week. With our school, there's 5 or 6 options a week for every single program. Aside from leadership, there's less of those. But for the main programs, 5 or 6 options per week, and you just come when you can. And so
That's awesome.
So we think people work better on a schedule. Okay, I do martial arts on Tuesday and
Sure.
Thursday, but life being what it is, things change sometimes.
Yeah.
You're not able to do that, so we accommodate them, and you can come in whenever it's convenient that week.
That's
and
pretty
you're going to get a great class. Yeah, so that's flexibility is a nice thing too.
Yeah, no, I think that's huge. I don't know that almost anything offers that sort of flexibility. That's really cool. What do you need to do it? We see folks in the outfit on TV, but what is really required in terms of somebody wants to get into it? Do they have to buy a bunch of gear and
No, we
stuff
provide
like
the
that?
uniform. Our uniform's pretty
wow.
basic too. Yeah, we don't wear full gis anywhere. We wear t-shirts, gi pants, and a belt. And several years ago, I realized I don't like training in a full gi unless it's gi jiu-jitsu. But if I'm doing striking and sparring, I don't want to wear a full uniform.
Yeah.
I want to wear a t-shirt. So we started wearing t-shirts because it's more comfortable. And we provide that. So really they just need to have a desire to learn and a great
awesome.
and a great attitude. And, realize that the first couple times you train, you're going to be sore. So just keep showing up. Your body will get accustomed to it. You'll still get a workout, but your body will get accustomed to all the different muscles that you're using.
Sure.
So, just like I said, a great attitude and the ability to keep coming even when it gets tough.
That's always those pains that you feel the next day that I always chalk that
Sometimes
up to
they
I'm
skip
doing
a
it
day.
right.
Sometimes they skip a day because our classes are at night. So,
Sure.
So I had a lady last week who started on one of the nights, and she came in the next night. And I'm like, "How you feeling?" And she was actually a former student from back when I taught in high school.
Yeah.
And she restarted with her son. And she goes, "Oh, I feel great." I'm like, "Just wait till tomorrow. Sometimes it skips a day." And the next day she goes, "Yep, I'm feeling it."
Yeah. You gotta chalk that up though to you did something right.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it because I did something good.
Exactly. And you're shocking your body with a new routine.
Yeah.
And you'll get accustomed to it. You'll
That
just
is-
get stronger, and that's the goal. Get stronger every day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way to do it, man. I don't know. I think you got a lot of really cool things happening over there. Let's give the address one more time. Where are you located?
222 Old Bridge Street, East Syracuse. So we're right off 690. That was one of, when I chose a location, I wanted to make sure it was convenient because we have people that drive in from Parrish. We have people driving from Tully, Lafayette. They come from everywhere, which we appreciate the people that drive that much to come see us. So we're right next to the exit for 690 across from BJ's and Staples on a little side road.
Okay. That's pretty neat. What are your hours?
All of our classes right now are in the evenings. So if they contact us, we would send them out a schedule. But
Gotcha.
They're all convenient times. Our classes are generally begin around 4 and end around 8.
Okay. Is this something that when people sign up, is it something they only do at your place, or do you also at some point start practicing at home and doing things like that? What's typical with that?
It's everybody's a little bit different.
Yeah.
We have people that on there get motivated on their own, so they start working out on their own at home. A lot of people get motivated to start running and going to the gym based on the training, and then some dojos where they practice and that's it, and then they go home. We do notice with the kids though, as they get into our leadership program, because they are learning so many advanced weapons techniques that they do have to go home and practice to get those down. So we generally tell them outside or the basement, not in the family room, because TVs are expensive.
Yeah,
for when nunchucks go flying.
I can imagine. I got to hear a little more about these weapons. So talk to me about this, because you've mentioned a bunch of them. Tell me what are these things that people might learn?
Well, adults now too. We have adults. We started doing weapons with our adult black belts too, and they're like, you see people in their 40s, they're like, I just love my nunchucks. And so everybody likes weapons, evidently. So,
Yeah.
So we do samurai swords, katanas. We do nunchucks. We do kamas, which are a handle with like a bladed, like scythe type weapon on the end of it.
Okay.
And did I say nunchucks?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes. And then bow staffs.
Okay.
Which is just a long staff.
So what do you do with these things? I mean,
I don't teach it. I don't teach it. My other instructors all teach it.
Okay.
It wasn't my favorite thing. I liked sparring growing up.
Really?
So, yeah, that's all. It was sparring and grappling. That's what I liked.
Wow.
But they start off with just basic handling. Then they move into basic katas, and then as they get more proficient with that, then the instructors will teach them like actual tricks, stuff that you'd see on TikTok or YouTube. And it's fun because they're flashy and they're fun to watch. And what I like is the kids are practicing that at home versus playing a video game. It seems like a lot of the time spent these days is on screens. So to have them get distracted with something that's like physical and not easy to master and really works their brain and their body, I think that's like a win-win. So even though it's not my favorite thing, I'm happy that they love it.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your favorite thing, though. You lit up when you mentioned all that grappling and that sort of thing. What does that mean? What do you do when you do that sort of stuff?
I enjoy it. Like I don't spar hard anymore. But it's just competition between you and somebody else, and it's a great workout. It's probably one of the best workouts you'll get in the martial arts. And it's just fun because it's an element of competition, but in a controlled environment. With partners that are fun to train with. So that's always been my favorite aspect of it growing up. But the beauty of like what we do is some people prefer forms and kata. Some people like hitting pads. Some people like sparring. Some people like weapons. And some people just come in to get a great workout and be around their friends. And, the nice thing is that our program is able to accommodate all of that.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Is it all sort of a structured class, or is there sort of open time to come in and just do any of those things that you kind of
if they want to, or in between classes they're able to, but for the most part, like we're so busy that the time that we're open is pretty all structured, with set classes because we have so many people that we need to push through in an evening.
Gotcha.
So not a lot of free time, but if they want to, when I'm there, they can feel free to come in sometimes.
That's fair. That's fair.
So I'm there a lot, so
and
people just stop by to visit it.
That's what you want, right?
Yeah,
that's the whole environment of that camaraderie that you mentioned. So that's
especially when they bring me an energy drink or something.
Right?
I love the scissors.
We accept gifts.
Yeah,
I love that. You have yourself and another instructor. You said are the primary folks there.
Yep.
Do you split up the groups among people? So what I mean by that is like, do you only work with adults and they only work with children, or vice versa? Or?
Yeah, we all work with everybody, and I try to balance it out as best I can, so they don't always have me or they don't always have my other instructor. So they get a mix of everybody. And like I said, for the leadership program, I bring in an outside guy who's phenomenal, and he comes in and works with them because I want them to get experience with other instructors because everybody teaches differently, and what one person enjoys may not be what somebody else enjoys. So, I like them to have variety and diversity.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's really neat. I had one question and I just completely lost it. I love when that happens. That's a good time.
I'm guessing we're going to chop that out.
Yeah. No, that's the beauty of editing is we can take my long pauses out.
I'm marking how long the break is, so take your time.
No, you're fine. The software will do that for us too. Let's talk a little bit about kind of your goals for the business. Not even necessarily for your individual students, but just in general. What are you looking to do? Where are you looking to take the business as you move forward here?
My goal is just to keep growing it, keep helping people as much as I can. I'm fortunate. One of the things that I talk a lot about with people is gratitude. I think a lot of people experience unhappiness or dissatisfaction in their life because they just kind of lack gratitude. They focus in on what they see on social media or what their neighbor has, and so they that lack of gratitude makes them not as happy in their lives. So for me, like, I'm grateful. I realize that I'm fortunate to have a business that's fun and, provides a living.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just, can we keep growing and keep helping people? And at the same time, I do want to kind of develop the next generation of instructors coming up. I have a couple that are really great right now, and just kind of developing a little stable of instructors that are capable and follow, the same ideals that we do. So the culture doesn't change. Like, I don't want it to be, it's called, Impact Martial Arts Team DeWitt, not Jason Nolan Martial Arts for a reason. Like, I want it to be bigger than me, so that, as I get older, that'll free me up to travel a little bit more and, and not have any loss in quality or have to worry about how the classes are being run. And, we're well on our way there. I think the leadership program kind of helps that. The goal of the leadership program is to help kids with public speaking, but a byproduct of that is some of them get interested in helping out. And so, we've developed several really good instructors through that.
Wow.
And, so that would probably be my goal, is continue to grow and help people, but also develop, the bench of people so that I have a little bit more flexibility as I get older to travel.
That's great.
Yeah.
And
that's pretty much, if I'm here, I want to work. It's fun. Like, my job's fun. Like,
right.
My business is fun. My people are great. They're wonderful. Like, I remember years ago, we had a family start, and they had moved from out west somewhere. And a couple months into her training, she waves me over and she whispers, she goes, "Can I tell you something?" And I go, "Yeah, what?" And she goes, "We just moved here." And she goes, "And we go to the school, we come to your dojo, we go to church." And she goes, "Everybody we like in town that we've met so far, they all come here." So it's like, we know we have great people, and like attracts like. So I'm lucky that my job is fun. So if I'm in town, I want to work, but as I do enjoy traveling, so a little bit more flexibility to travel is all I would be interested in.
I got to say, you're in a really neat place as a business because, like you said, very intelligently, you're trying to scale, and to do that, you need some more instructors. So,
but we don't want to hire from outside,
right? And that's
want
that's
everybody
the thing,
homegrown.
is you've got that built-in farm system. No business has that. That's so cool.
And it means that you know and you love and you trust your people, and you know that they're gonna keep the culture going the way it already is. And that's probably the biggest thing that I want to protect, is that, like, we have a really great culture, and it's just, like I said, maybe it's not for everybody, but the people that are there love it and we love it. And, so we want to safeguard that. And so growing from within allows that.
Absolutely. And like I said, what a great position you're in to be able to do that, to kind of handpick the people that are really passionate about what you're doing, and give them the opportunity to keep doing it.
That was a mentor, though. That was a mentor. I have a mentor in Rhode Island who's a brilliant guy. Love him.
Really?
And he's the one that introduced me to that idea and kind of showed me the process. And, to actually work with him, you have to go out to his schools, because he's like, "I can't tell you about it. You need to see it."
Yeah.
And you go into his school, and there's 100 teenagers, just teaching with the more enthusiasm than you've ever seen in your life. And you're like, yeah, that's pretty cool. So I can't even take credit for it. I have a mentor that taught the process to me. And so,
But it sounds like, so then would it be fair to say that you yourself are even continuing in much the same way that your students do, with working with someone else and learning and continuing to grow that way?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anything I can, a couple weeks ago, we were at an AI seminar together. I think we have one next week.
Yeah.
And, so I'm always trying to grow and learn, because, if you're not growing, what's the saying? You're not growing, you're dying. Plus it's such a fun time. There's so many things to learn now, and it's so easy to connect with other people, regardless of where they are. There's so much to learn, and so easy to connect. It's great. It's a great time. It's exciting.
I could see that. I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, and there's no wrong answer, but if you had to pick today, you could only choose one group of people to lead a class for forever. Would it be the real young ones? Would it be the adults? Who would be your go-to if you had to choose, and then why?
That's a tough one. I love them all, honestly. I think right now I'm enjoying. We have an amazing adult team. They're really a fun group, and they're just so nice to each other, to everybody. They're just a pleasure to be around. Like, they're just fun people. We've had groups before that were really talented, but they're just these people just care about each other. It's
Yeah.
great. Our kids program, because of what we're doing with the leadership program, that really excites me. But probably right now, the little guys, just because my kids are getting older. So, 4 and 5 year olds are
Yeah.
just fun, and you never know what you're going to get. Some
Yeah.
days they come in and they're like little soldiers and they're perfect. And other days you're like the first nice day last Tuesday, I think it was, they came in, we're like, what did they feed you guys in school today? Like they were just on another planet. So it's kind of fun because, my business is very cyclical, so it doesn't change a lot. So with that age group, you never know what you're going to get. So sometimes you get more of a challenge than you thought you were going to get. So
Yeah.
that makes it fun.
Yeah, no,
So,
I can.
Plus they're just fun to be around.
Yeah. What do you start with a kid that's that small? Like, what is their first kind of introduction to this world?
They don't memorize. We don't have them memorize any material. Like for them to get new belts, it's attendance and focus.
I see.
And the nice thing too is even the ones that come in a little wild, when there's 15 other kids in class that are all doing what they should be doing, they kind of fall in line. They kind of rise to the occasion. So, so that's the first goal, is just get them focused, being able to stand in one spot, basic listening. And then we do basic punches and strikes and a lot of fitness and agility drills. And then we always finish with a game at the end because, we all love games.
Yeah.
Kids and adults alike.
That's pretty
so,
neat.
But their classes, the little ones, are a little shorter than everybody else. They're only 30 minutes.
Gotcha.
So,
No, I think that's really neat.
yeah.
At what point do they move up to the longer classes? Like, how old are you at
Could
that
be,
point?
yeah, usually around 6.
Okay.
6.5, somewhere in there. And like I said, some of them take a little bit longer. We've had some little dragons that stayed until like 7.5. And then we had some, like younger siblings that move up at 5.5. It just depends on the child, and you can't put them all in the same box. Everybody's different. And, that's one of the things we talk to parents about, is not comparing their child to somebody else's child, because everybody's coming from a different place, and everybody has, different situations at home in terms of siblings and just genetics, so, just worry about you and let's be better than you were the day before.
You do a little bit of parent coaching too, then, it sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, you're a parent. The first time you go through this stuff, it's like, it's the first time you're ever doing this, and it's probably the only time you're ever going to be doing this particular situation.
Sure.
So with me having had kids, I did notice that as my kids got older, my teaching got better, because now it wasn't theoretical. It's like I've already kind of lived through this.
Yeah.
And then over, my school's been open 20 years, but I've been teaching over 30. So
Sure.
over 30 years, you start to see a lot of patterns. And you also, besides patterns with kids, you also start to see the trends, how things are different. Just since the pandemic, kids are different. Since the age of smartphones and iPads in 2012-ish, they're a lot different, so that... which is probably, not to lead into the next episode, but the next episode, you and I will probably be sitting down together, because I want to talk about, the digital world and technology and education, because you changed my mind a couple of weeks ago. You made me kind of think about it. I was like, you know what? He's got a point there. So I'd like to talk to parents about that one at some point.
Yeah, I'd look forward to that. That'll be pretty neat. Jason Nolan, Impact My Life is the name of this podcast. And it is, what is the full name of the business? I don't want to mess it up.
Impact Martial Arts Team DeWitt. There's several impacts around Syracuse, and they're all independently owned. They're all great friends of mine. They're great people. I happen to own the one in DeWitt. So it's a loose affiliation. Like I said, we're all friends, but they're all independently owned. So I'm the DeWitt location. And then the podcast is going to be called Impact My Life. Impact My Life was a hashtag we started using several years ago.
That's great.
For all of our social media. And it was just kind of make people realize, kind of put it out there that, what, this is a lot more than punching and kicking.
Yeah.
This is something that'll impact your whole life. So what we're hoping to with the podcast is kind of raise awareness and help people with different life situations like that, self-defense for life,
Yeah.
If they don't happen to be in our school. And then, for our students, things in a little bit more detail than they would get in a class while I'm yelling at them while they're punching and kicking and running around. So. I'm excited. It should be a lot of fun.
Yes.
And I have a lot
Definitely.
of cool friends that'll be coming on as guests, because I don't try to portray myself as the knower of everything.
Sure.
I'm on the same ride as everybody else trying to learn. So as I'm trying to learn, I'll be bringing in friends that, have experience in, these areas that will help teach me as well. Like you were saying, with all these podcasts that you guys are hosting here, you're learning a lot.
So much. so much. That's part of why we do it, right?
Yeah.
You know, obviously for the audience to learn from these things, but even in our own businesses, you know, in even within our own industries, to keep these conversations going, is just how you get better. And obviously, you know that's something that you're teaching everybody, which I love. You're not just kind of living it, but it's literally your business. I don't know. I just think that's cool. Before we get out of here today, I want to hear just a couple more stories about some of these people. So you've been in this business, you know, this one, like you said, for 20 years. What are a couple of your favorite student stories?
Right off the bat, this kid, Liam, pops into my head. Liam came to us through a school program. We do school programs at local schools. So we were a Holy Cross school, and his mom signed him up for martial arts. I'm not sure whether that was his idea or her idea, but she signed him up. And after the conclusion of the program at Holy Cross, he came to us at the school and became a student. Well, Liam had kind of lacked confidence. He had never done many sports before. And his mom, I believe, his dad was a teacher. I'm not sure what his mom did, but came from, you know, normal middle class upbringing, but didn't do any sort of sports. Well, through the martial arts, he got his black belt. He gained a lot of confidence. So he started doing other sports. He started playing football. He started playing basketball. He did all these sports. And then he got out of high school and he said, I'm going to work for a NASCAR team. And we're like, do you know anything about cars? He goes, I know nothing about cars. But this was a person that had no confidence at all.
Yeah.
And suddenly, you know, he had the confidence to try other sports. He had the confidence to go to college at Alfred State for automotive stuff. And he got a job with a NASCAR team down in North Carolina. And so you hear about those types of stories and you're like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, we had a kid named Alexander. We used to joke with him because his first day he came in, he said, my name is Alexander with an S. So for 2 months I called him Alexander with an S, and he would just be like, but he was like, he would cry for every class for like the first 2 months. Like he was just like really unconfident. It projected itself through crying. And so I would make him mad by calling him Alexander with an S, and that would stop him from crying, you know. But like to have somebody that was that unconfident, now he's, you know, married, in grad school for physical therapy, lives in Chicago, runs marathons, and it's like he was a rock climbing instructor. And, you know, so to have those types of stories when a parent comes in, we had a little guy start about a month and a half ago and wouldn't get out there, crying, reluctant, wouldn't get out there. And I could confidently tell the mom, I'm like, it's okay. Just keep bringing him. It'll be okay. And now he does the class. He's out there running around the entire class, and took him a good month, you know, with his mom going out there with him. But having that type of history where you've seen it a million times and you can reference those stories, you know, helps you when the new situations come in and you're like, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
We've seen it before.
Yeah, I hear you.
So those are two off the top of my head that, you know, were stories of kids that just gained a lot of confidence through the martial arts. And it helps me even today when I have new situations with a new 4 or 5 year old coming in that needs to build their confidence.
No, that's got to make you feel good.
Yeah.
Just seeing them go through that whole program and come out so much better on the other end.
Yeah.
I think that's neat. Jason, the last thing I want to ask you about today is a little bit of your own journey into martial arts. Did you start as a 3-year-old when you were little, or?
I started elementary school. My friend Brian, who's still one of my best friends today, is a doctor down in the D.C., Northern Virginia area. He saw the Karate Kid and he said, we're going to do karate. And I was like, okay. You know, I just kind of went along with it.
Sure.
And so we started at a very traditional place first. Everything was, you know, all the commands were in Japanese, and they weren't very nice. And I think we quit after about a week and a half because, you know, we didn't understand the Japanese that they were speaking, and they weren't very nice about it. And the place was very dark. It was just like, nah. But I think our moms chose it because it was the closest place to our house. You know, there was convenience, and they could carpool. And so then we gave it a second chance, and the second chance was at the school that ended up being my instructor for life, and you know, ended up being the partner for my school, and you know, so it ended up being a good fit. Like I said, I did it all the way through high school and college. I went to school at Lemoyne so that I could keep teaching
Wow.
throughout school. And then I left for a few years and moved out to Chicago. And then when I came back, I picked it back up after, after my business was divested.
If you realized HR wasn't for you.
Yeah. So the strategic stuff was fun. Some of the projects were great. We were doing an intranet, a corporate intranet from the Netherlands to here, connecting all the HR stuff. That type of stuff was fun, but firing 700 people is not fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you're on the other side of that. You don't ever have to do that again.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Jason Nolan, Impact My Life is the name of this podcast. This is awesome. I am so excited, not only about what we've talked about today, but everything that you've talked about that we're going to hear in future episodes of this podcast, because there's so many interesting things, and just more of these stories making people's lives better it's why we do this. So it's pretty neat, and we're very excited to be able to help spread the word about this awesome business here in Central New York. Been around for decades. I don't know, it just doesn't get any better than that. You know what I mean? So I appreciate it. Jason, before we go, any last thoughts? No,
I appreciate the time. Appreciate you helping me launch this. It's a new venture for me, and new things are fun.
Anytime. We look forward to it. And even, I think this is probably part of your plan, but you got to bring in some of these youngsters who you've taught how to public speak, and we can give them a chance to do that there too. As well.
They'd love that. They love to talk.
Yeah, that'll be great. All right. Join us next time. Impact My Life. It's awesome.
Thanks, you.
Guys.
All right. We are
Beautiful.